And now let's get straight to our top spotlight focus here on 5 Live. Ahead of next year's assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, the very important one, the first after the deaths of both Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, the main opposition DMK seems to be headed to a war of brothers. DMK patriarch M Karunanidhi's elder son Alagiri is contemplating launching his own political party and could be entering the orbit of the BJP. It's all up for speculation right now, but there are indicators. Speaking to India Today, MK Alagiri said that as of now, no such decision has been taken, but confirms that any such move will be made only after holding discussions with his supporters, which is, of course, a pretty vanilla political comment when you're holding your cards close to your chest. Alagiri's independent course may impact younger brother Stalin's political future as chief of the DMK. Meanwhile, possible names doing the rounds for Alagiri's speculated new party include Kalainar DMK or KDMK. It's also being learnt that Alagiri may meet Home Minister Amit Shah when he visits Chennai on the 21st of November. Tamil Nadu BJP chief L Murugan said that Alagiri is welcome in the BJP. Remember, Alagiri was removed from the DMK in 2014 for anti-party activities and has been out of politics ever since. The move will be a big challenge to the DMK, especially because Alagiri is quite popular and has quite a following and is considered a bit of a strong man in the Madurai area.
Okay.
மீடியால போட்டாங்களே தவிர அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கூட்டமும் ஒன்று போடல, ஒன்றும் எந்த முடிவும் எடுக்கல. எந்த முடிவு எடுத்தாலும் நான் என்னுடைய ஆதரவாளர்களை அழைத்து பேசிட்டு தான் முடிவு எடுப்பேன்.
சார், இப்போ வந்து பிஜேபி தலைவர் முருகன் வந்து நீங்க அவங்களோட இணையறதா இருந்தா நாங்க உங்களுக்கு ஆதரவு தருவோம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொல்லியிருக்காரு.
சொல்லியிருக்காரு. அவர் சொன்ன கருத்துக்கு நான் மகிழ்ச்சியை தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் அவர் வந்து அவருடைய சொந்த கருத்தை அவர் சொல்லியிருக்காரு.
No, see, I didn't receive any official communication or I didn't spoke with Mr. Alagiri also. I don't know anything. If he comes, see, we are open. So many persons are joining in our party. If he comes, he wants to join our party, we are welcome. We are ready to welcome to him.
No, anyone can start their own political party. It is a right. So why not Mr. Alagiri? He has been a central minister. He is son of Mr. Karunanidhi. But what do we have? We have got to do with it. If he wants to start a political party, yes, he can start. But if he wants to join BJP, he is most welcome. He is a powerful person, and particularly in down south, of Tamil Nadu, he is a very strong personality. He has got a huge followers. So, starting a political party, anyone, they are welcome. Coming to BJP also, they are welcome.
Let's just show you what the Tamil Nadu Assembly looks like at this point of time. Elections are coming up in 6 months. The AIADMK, which is an ally of the BJP, has 123 seats. It's the ruling party. The DMK, which is the opposition party, has 97. The Congress has 7. The IUML has 1. And there are certain others. There are some vacancies as well. That's what it looks like. Now, the 2016 Tamil Nadu Assembly polls, this is what things actually look like at that time. AIADMK 135, DMK 88, the Congress 8, and this is the total figure as far as the other numbers are concerned. So let's go straight across now to our guests. I want to introduce you to Narayanan Tirupati, spokesperson of the Tamil Nadu BJP, who you just heard. TM Veeraraghav is a senior journalist. Narayan Lakshman, also a senior journalist. Gentlemen, welcome. Narayanan Tirupati, to you first. The BJP says, if Alagiri wants to join, he is most welcome to join. Is there a conversation happening? I mean, I can understand Alagiri holding his cards close to his chest at this time, but what's going on? Is there a conversation happening? Are you trying to get him into the BJP?
No, not at all. There is no conversation, and as our state president said, there is no any word from Mr. Alagiri. We don't know. See, to start a political party on his own is his will and wish and his right. So we cannot comment anything on that. But anybody, to politics, they are welcome. Because he has served as a cabinet minister. He has been a big shot in, he has got a huge following in down south of, Madurai, Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So if he wants to join BJP, we welcome anyone, joining BJP in Tamil Nadu, because every day thousands and thousands of people are joining BJP. Particularly, a lot of politicians from other parties also joining. A lot of leaders are joining. Industrialists are joining. So, if it is Alagiri, why not? There is nothing wrong.
Veera Raghav,
We
what do you
welcome-
think? What do you think of this? I mean, last couple of days there have been all these reports that he might float his own party. He's talking to the BJP. Now the BJP says he's welcome. What do you think about all this?
I think three very quick things. One, Alagiri has been a deadweight in Tamil Nadu politics for a while, but he's been one who's been seeking attention from MK Stalin and the DMK all this while. So this may well be a tantrum that he's throwing to seek some kind of attention within the DMK or from Stalin. But it is very clear that Stalin is also only bothered about asserting himself in this party, and this will be a test of Stalin's statesmanship on whether he can put aside his personal differences with his brother and bring him back into the party and keep it together. I wouldn't know. So this works two ways. It shows both the fact that Alagiri wants attention and the other fact that Stalin does not want anybody within the family having any kind of say within the DMK. The BJP has been fishing in troubled waters. They wouldn't mind taking Alagiri in, but it may not make a huge difference to the BJP per se in Tamil Nadu, given the fact that Alagiri hasn't proven to be a great vote puller beyond some few pockets in Madurai where he has his region of muscle power and influence. We haven't seen much impact of Alagiri there in the state otherwise. So we'll have to see how this plays out. It's just an interesting soap opera turning out ahead of the Tamil Nadu election.
That's right. It is interesting because, there are these movements and it comes just months before the election. So, one tends to, interpret a sort of amplified sense of the meaning of all these things, especially when speculation is happening. And of course, we on television indulge in it quite a bit, I have to admit. Narayan, what do you think about all this? Alagiri has been in the sort of, not in active politics since he was kicked out of the DMK in 2014. What do you think is going on here?
No, Shiv, absolutely. I must agree with Veera Raghav in that I think Alagiri is very close to being a spent force if he's not already that. All party district secretaries and former ministers from the south, even his stronghold, are pretty much with Stalin. And even a few of the Madurai people are supposedly with him now, and only the former mayor, Marie and her husband, and a few remaining ones, stragglers, are holding on to the Alagiri bandwagon. So I think the bigger question to me is, what does the BJP gain or lose from admitting such a person into their ranks, if at all that is their plan? The obvious answer there is they are possibly endangering what little credentials they have with the AIA-DMK. That alliance is already feeling a little bit ragged, a little bit sort of jarring because of some dissonances with, the whole clash with Murugan and the Vetrivel
Yatra, yes.
thing. And the election. So that is in trouble. That relationship is in trouble. So I think they will have to assess it carefully. I think at the very worst, Alagiri may just, take a bit of the limelight away for a brief minute. I don't think he's going to have any electoral impact in terms of vote share.
Mr. Tirupati, you want to respond to that? Both what Veera Raghav and Narayan said, that the BJP has been fishing in troubled waters. This could be Alagiri, using this to get some attention from the DMK. What his worth will finally be. What does he actually bring to the BJP? Answer those questions.
See, first of all, we don't depend on any personalities. We as a party, we are united, and we have got our own strength. We have got our organizational strength. We have got good infrastructure, and we are growing very high in Tamil Nadu. So what I wanted to say is that we have not spoken anything to Mr. Alagiri. In the morning also, I have made it very, very clear, and Mr. Alagiri also made it clear. So in case you are asking a question for which I am answering, it is not my statement. So for a question, if you ask, will you admit Mr. Alagiri? I say yes, because anyone can join my party, sir. We are running a political party. I cannot say no. Anyone accepting our policies, they are welcome to our party.
Would the AIA-DMK be okay with that? How would they react to something like that?
AIA-DMK doesn't have anything to do with this, because we have our own political party. So how can AIA-DMK interfere into our our party politics? It is not possible.
Okay.
So we cannot ask AIA-DMK to have some people in their party or remove some people from their party. It is not. It is their internal thing. It is our internal thing.
Veeraraghav, in the days and the weeks ahead, we're going to obviously the conversation around the election coming up in Tamil Nadu will be broadened. We'll be looking at the bigger trends and the bigger entities. But it's tempting to focus only on Alagiri right now because it's tempting to focus on personalities ultimately. My question is, he was kicked out of the DMK for anti-party activities 6 years ago, Veeraraghav. In that time, what has Alagiri been doing since then? And if something actually works out in terms of either him floating his own party or entering the BJP's orbit in some way, what kind of a political force or a political threat would he be to the sort of powers that be?
And he did nothing when he was in power, and he's done nothing after that. And I'm just going to be very brutally honest about it. There is never a dull moment as well in the great Dravidian, undivided or divided family. So, at some level, Alagiri doesn't make any great political, stock at the moment. He doesn't add to anybody's politics. But it's a symbolic shift. If you can have somebody from the, when you had somebody from Periyar's family, when you have somebody from the Karunanidhi family joining the BJP, it becomes a sort of a symbolic embarrassment at some level, whether it is for the individual or that. Leaving that aside, just to add to the point that Narayan was making about AIDMK BJP, I think the AIDMK is terribly dependent on the BJP. At least the leadership of the AIDMK, the people who want to hold power in the AIDMK are terribly dependent on the BJP. And the BJP has been trying to get any personality that it can in Tamil Nadu to add to its, its symbolic presence in the state. This is not about finding vote shares. I don't think this is purely about. This is about capturing the mind space and trying to emerge as a party which has some relevance in a state which has been dominated by the DMK narrative. And this is like in the quest for an identity in Tamil Nadu. But I don't think Alagiri is the man who can bring that kind of an identity to any party.
Since that's directed at the BJP, I'll go to Mr. Tirupati first before I come to you, Narayan. Mr. Tirupati, the BJP has been desperately looking for mind space in a state where it doesn't have much of a presence and, arguable level of relevance. It's looking to shore that up. Lots of things. The Vetrivel Yatra now, chasing Rajnikant for many, many years now. How would you respond to that?
No, Shiv, we as a party, we have done better in Tamil Nadu every time, But you tell me, you ask Mr. Veeraraghavan or Mr. Narayan Lakshman, which party except DMK and AIDMK has done better in Tamil Nadu? No other party, for that matter, because these two parties run professionally. Now, in the last 5-6 years, because of the rule given by Mr. Modi, the fantastic rule, and also the people welfare schemes, we have reached almost all the villages. Our organizational setup has become more. So definitely we will admit whoever comes. What is wrong in it? He has been a cabinet minister. What is wrong if
but it is not a
he
passive.
says that he has not done anything?
It's not like the BJP's gates are passively open to someone. You are actively looking for some faces to get that mind space that Veeraraghav is talking about.
No, Shiv, he has been a cabinet minister, sir. So if Mr. Veeraraghavan, he has not done, he has done nothing. The same thing applies to Mr. Stalin also. The same thing applies to Mr. Stalin also. When Mr. Karunanidhi was there, nobody can do anything. He was everything. So when Mr. Karunanidhi, passed away, Mr. Alagiri was not there in the party. So we have to accept all those things.
No, there is something to say about, if in a scenario, imagine a scenario where Alagiri either forms a party and allies with the BJP or sort of in some way or the other joins the BJP or gets into the BJP's orbit. Like Veeraraghav said, it would be a symbolic embarrassment, which brings me to my next question. For the DMK, because this is politics of personality ultimately that we are so used to. Let me just bring Narayan in, then I'll come back to you on the second point. Narayan, how is what is your sense of how the DMK is dealing with all of this? Could Alagiri create some kind of trouble for them? Obviously, this is an emotive issue because he's Karunanidhi's son as well, brother to Stalin and Kanimozhi. How is the family taking all of this in your view?
Sure, I think the family as well as the party are handling this as something that they have been expecting right since day one. If you remember, even around the time of Stalin's anointment as a party president in the aftermath of his father's passing, there was a bit of a flurry over whether Alagiri would stake a claim, and all of that amounted to naught. It came to nothing. So I think that if there's one thing you can credit the DMK for, it is for having an orderly succession plan. The rise of talent from the ranks of, initially youth wing, treasurer, mayor, MLA, MP, and so on, right to deputy chief minister, was a very planned process, and they remain a well-organized party at the highest level. And I would argue a similar thing of the AIADMK, except for the fact that under Jayalalitha, she completely undercut any potential other leaders from coming up because of her own view on how to handle the party matters. And as a result, there was a lot of friction in the aftermath of her passing. But having said all this, Shiv, I think we must take Mr. Narayanan, with due respect to you, with a pinch of salt, this thing about BJP reaching down to the villages as if there's going to be a grand mobilization. Your vote share dropped 3.7% in the 2019 election from 2014. So while you may certainly have ambitions, and I don't doubt you do under Prime Minister Modi's guidance, you are a party in desperate need of finding a foothold in this state. The state has rudely repudiated every one of your efforts so far. So all this little skirmishes between Alagiri and the BJP is a bit of a battle on the fringes, and let's not lose sight of which two major Dravidian parties are occupying the political center of this state's arena.
Mr. Tirupati, Narayan says it's all small potatoes. There is no reach. The BJP has a huge amount of ambitions, but it is not matched by what's actually happening on the ground. And therefore you see all these sideshows and Rajnikant and Vetrivel Yatra and all of this other stuff.
See, I have never claimed that we are number one in Tamil Nadu, because I have already said, before 2-3 minutes I said that these two parties are the strongest parties. But, the scenario has changed from 2016 to 2020, because there is no Mr. Karunanidhi or Selvi Jayalalitha. There are only 5 leaders in Tamil Nadu: Kamarajar, MGR, Karunanidhi, Annadurai and Jayalalitha. There are no leaders now. No public accepted leaders are there in Tamil Nadu. Now the battle will be between the parties. Which party will be the best party? We say that BJP is the best party. So we will try to mobilize more cadre from all villages. Nothing wrong in that. In 2016, 2014, we gathered 20% votes above, in spite of DMK and AIADMK. And then in 2019 also, I don't accept what Mr. Narayan Lakshman says, because in 2019 parliament elections, we were in the NDA. So in 2016, yes, we contested alone. So whatever said Mr. Narayan Lakshman said is right. So he cannot compare now.
Veera Raghav, there is something in the claim that this is the first election since the demise of Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi. There are no major personalities now in what once was a battlefield with extremely strong personalities. Is there something in your view in what Narayanan Tirupati is saying, that with this sort of flattened battleground, the BJP has more of a chance of making some kind of a mark?
This is not the first election. This is the first assembly election after the demise of Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
This is the first. There was a parliamentary election in 2019, which Narayan was pointing out to, where it was shown very clearly. And if a national party like the BJP, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, does not have traction in a parliamentary election, I tend to question how that same factors will have a traction in an assembly election.
5 seats. How do you calculate
you contested 5 seats, sir. So before that, you've held Coimbatore once.
How can you say we failed?
Let him finish.
There was no transaction. I'm not disputing. But having said all this, I think the BJP, you can't grudge the BJP for making an effort. This is the first time in the last in the history of Tamil Nadu, even when it was Vajpayee in alliance with the DMK. This is the first time in the history of Tamil Nadu where the BJP is at least making an attempt to try and gather the mind space. Now, as Narayan pointed out, there is an intention, there is a desire, but the reality is very different at the moment. I am not saying for all of future, BJP can't build itself. I'm only saying at the moment, at the grassroots, the BJP does not have traction.
Okay.
The sheer fact that you have to get a Khushbu Sundar to your party, the sheer fact that you have to offer open and
olive. DMK has had a lot of people.
Okay. I'm out of time. I need to wrap up. But the point
shows that you are in the quest for a regional Tamil personally.
DMK,
Okay,
DMK
okay.
included so many people.
I
Admitted
promise,
so many
I
people.
promise,
Ranga
I promise
Thammasselvan,
all three of you that we will
Kalayarajan.
continue this debate, one of these days, because we've got a lot of time. And I promise you here, at least on 5 p.m., we're going to do a lot of focusing on Tamil Nadu and Bengal, the two big political wars that we're going to focus on relentlessly here on India Today. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on this discussion here on 5 Live. Coming up next, Congress claims BJP government in Karnataka is targeting their leader.